How bad is the housing market really? And how bad is it going to get in 2023? In this video, I'm going to show you how to pull some stats and kind of analyze it on your own, right? I'm sure that anybody who's out there looking at real estate housing data is going to hear from real estate professionals like myself that you got to, take with a grain of salt because we're in the business. You're also going to hear from folks that are gloom and doom and trying to get clicks, and you got to take their advice with a grain of salt as well. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to go out there and collect your own data and do with it what you will, infer what you will. Stay tuned. All right, Matt, the mortgage guy, residential mortgage broker. We lend all across the country. I'm in Sacramento, California. Shout out to the Kings. Today, I'm going to do a deep dive into some analytics in Sacramento, but we lend nationwide. We do business all across the country. If you want to connect me and my team, go to greatmortgagebroker.com, fill out the form. We'll be in touch. If you want to connect with a realtor anywhere across the U.S., you can go to homeandmoney.com/Matt. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen because I was doing some poking around, looking at some data. And I thought to myself, this is something that anybody can do. And I think people would be interested in this, right? So if you're in any market across the US, you just search for your own market and do the similar type work, but I'm going to show you how, right? A lot of different places out there on the internet, from Zillow and Redfin and Altos Research and others, where you can get data. I'm going to show you a cool tool that Zillow has that I think most people don't know, right? So first and foremost, I'll leave the link down below. You go to zillow.com/research/data, right? So on this page, they've got a bunch of different data sets that you can basically pull and download, where they've got years of historical data. The first one being Zillow Home Value Index. There's stuff that you can click into that gets really deep on how they make these calculations, the methodology and all that other stuff. I'll save all that stuff, right? This is just a way that you can look at home values and how they've trended across the whole United States, right? And it's going to break it down by metro. So you can go in there and say, I want to look at Sacramento, or I want to look at Las Vegas, or I want to look at Seattle, whatever the case may be. And I'll show you real quick, right? And then I'll also jump into some inventory stats, which I think are really cool, looking at pendings and looking at sales, right? I'm going to actually show you pendings because I pulled up a chart on that, and I did my own analysis and charts. And then we've got like inventory, which is another good thing to look at if you're in the market to buy, if you're just curious, right? It's cool stuff. So starting up here, Zillow Home Value Index. This is all homes, single family, condo, co-op. You could change this to different things, right? You just want to look at 3 bedrooms. You just want to look at 1 bedrooms, all kinds of different ways you can pull this. And then you download it, and it's literally a CSV file, which is Excel if you're used to it. Look at all this data that comes up. It is a treasure trove, and you do with it what you'd want. But going all the way back to 2000, I'll show you this real quick. You've got endless metros across the US. So what I would do if I were you, and I'm like, hey, I'm just curious about my own market. And up here, these dates are too long, but this is January of 2000, February of 2000, goes all the way to October of 2022. So that's 260 plus months of data. Down here is the region names. Sacramento is number 26 on here. But when I tell you there's hundreds, you can look, right? There's just hundreds and hundreds of metros across the US with all this data. So what I did was I took line 26 for Sacramento and I extracted all this data from my own Excel spreadsheet. And I'll show you what I did. is I just overlaid data. And trust me, I'm not an Excel genius. I'm nothing special. I just took the months and this ZHVI, again, Zillow Home Value Index, all the data that Zillow has in their system. And I just put it into a chart. I'll show you how you can do that too. If you collected a number of data points, right? You can go all the way across, so which I did. Then you go to insert and recommended charts. It is basically going to recommend you a chart based on what data you've highlighted. And that's all I did, right? And it recommended this chart. Now you can see over time, starting in 2000, what this home value index did in Sacramento specifically, right? And then here, where we peaked and have started to come down, I think if we did a different type of chart, it would actually let us hover over and see these values. Because if you wanted to see when did it peak and when did it start coming down, it kind of surprised me because the peak looks like it's, this is just the dates. What is that? May of 2022 or June? June was 614. And then we start heading downwards, right? And so like a lot of talk right now about like peak to trough, how far are we going to come down from this peak of 614? In some areas, they're seeing 12% lower than peak prices. So let's do some quick math. You know, if 614 was kind of the peak for this average, multiply that by 88%, you know, it'll be down to 540. If it goes down 12%. So that's that. Do with that what you will, you know, and mess around with it. I think, you know, you could certainly go down 100 different rabbit holes. In the sake of making this video not 1,000 hours long, there's all this cool inventory data and list and sale price data that you can jump into. I'll show you what I pulled up and what I did with the inventory, because I was just interested, right? Like, you can hear people talking, they can spin things however they want to spin it. I wanted to look at inventory and see what inventory was really doing in Sacramento. And this one doesn't go back to 2000, but this one goes back to 2018. So we can see 5 years of inventory. And just like I did on that other one, I just highlighted the inventory number for Sacramento, and it's a week on week number. Know that October, this last data point, 4,818. This is week on week where existing inventory is. And if we go back, this is about 12 months. No, I'm sorry, 12 weeks. Inventory peaked somewhere in August, 12 weeks ago, and it's come down since. And so anybody who says we've got a ton of inventory and nobody buying, for sure demand is down. And I'll show you that next. I'll show you the pending sales, but inventory is low, right? Lower than it was in 18 and 19, right? And this is like how it works seasonally, where inventory peaks in the winter and comes down in the spring, peaks in the winter, comes down in the spring. These last 2 years have been different because of all the other dynamics with, 2020 and 2021 with stimulus and lockdowns and things of that nature. The next chart I'm going to pull in is pendings, and it's the same 5 years. This shows demand, in my opinion, on how much stuff is pending. October, 1,632 pendings in Sacramento, which is below even the pre-pandemic years. You know, October of 19, 2,300. October of 2018, 2,300. So we're well below pending, which is demand, people actually getting into contract. which goes down quite significantly in November and December, right? Every single year. And you can see, like, even in these last 2 years, which are funky, there's still seasonality in real estate, which to me shows if we've got 1632 in October, and you can go back and extrapolate 2300 down to 19, 2300 down to 19, that is like a 15% drop and then another drop. If we see a 15% drop in this, like, we're gonna be down to 14 some odd to 12 some odd in November and December. All this for me as an investor, it'll say different things to different people. I think that's the cool part about looking up your own stats. You take these stats and you infer what you will. To me as an investor, seeing what's going on and seeing, the pendings down quite a bit, I know that there's going to be opportunity galore as an investor, right? To go out there. Traditionally, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's deals to be had. The people that are selling are selling for a reason, right? And so they've got incentive to sell. And some of them must sell. But anyhow, just a quick little dive into some Zillow data. Feel free to comment. Let me know if you've got other places you like to look for data. If there's things that you like to look at. I like to look at inventory and pendings and sales, and the price data, can be interpreted a ton of different ways. But anyhow, just my 2 cents. I thought it was kind of cool, so I wanted to share. I'll leave that link below. Again, if you want to connect me and my team, greatmortgagebroker.com. If you want to connect with an agent nationwide, go to homeandmoney.com/Matt. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we gonna see.